Thank you for tuning in to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. Whether you're listening during your commute, while working out, or just relaxing at home, we appreciate you. Every download, every listen, and every subscription means a lot. Up next, the 12 Kyle podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. Man, check this out. On this episode, what I want to talk about is graduations, more specifically graduations and how we celebrate and honor those who graduate. At the time of this recording, we are in the midst of graduation season. If you've been following this podcast, you know that I've done a few episodes on graduations. I believe I've talked about my graduation from high school, as well as my graduation from South Carolina State University. And so, I'm a firm believer in, graduations and celebrating and honoring those who have graduated. At the time of this recording, also, we in my family just had a couple of milestones. Our oldest son, Dion, he just recently graduated from Alabama A&M University, getting his master's degree. And his brother, our middle son, Cameron, he just got his undergraduate degree from Southern University. Suffice to say that my wife and I are extremely proud of these two kids because, they did it, and, graduating from college isn't it's not an easy thing. As we both can attest, my wife and I are graduates from South Carolina State University. And also, by the time you hear this, we would have two more graduates. Our youngest son, Brandon, has graduated from high school by the time you hear this. He graduated from high school, and then the day before his graduation, his baby sister, our only daughter, Skylar, she graduates from middle school and will be attending high school next year. So a lot of graduations going on, 4 graduations in a span of 2 weeks for us. And it was a very interesting and yet tiresome, but yet great time. Just to give you a backdrop, Dion's graduation as well as Cameron's graduation were on the same day, right? And so obviously we could not make both. You can't be in 2 places at one time. So what we did was, because Dion was getting his master's degree, he had his hooding ceremony on the Wednesday before his graduation. His graduation was May 9th. So we went to Huntsville. My wife and I, we went to Huntsville to see his hooding ceremony on Wednesday. Got a chance to spend some time with him afterwards. And we knew that we weren't going to be there for his graduation. And so then we came back to Atlanta, drove to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, which is about 8-hour drive from Atlanta. The whole family, my parents, my in-laws, we went down there for Cameron's graduation, which was on Friday. And again, Dion's graduation was at the same time as Cameron. Here's the great thing about technology. Because of technology, I was able to watch Dion's graduation on my cell phone and while attending Cameron's graduation. And I thought that was really, really dope. And so I was able to, virtually be there. But I got to shout out one of my best friends in the universe. You guys have seen her on here, Dr. Jamel. She's also Dion's godmother. She was able to attend physically, so we had someone there for his graduation. And what was interesting was after Dion graduated, he hopped on a plane and he flew to Dallas. And he flew to Dallas and then to Baton Rouge, where he met us for dinner, for graduation dinner. And Cameron didn't know that he was coming, so that was a surprise. So I had both of my sons, my graduates, there, for us to celebrate them. And we had a graduation dinner that night in Baton Rouge, and it was a great affair. Loved it. had a great time. I was floating. I drove from, I think I calculated, I drove between Huntsville to Atlanta to Baton Rouge to back to Atlanta. I drove like over 2,300 miles within a span of what, a couple of days. Um, and I didn't feel tired at all. I was literally floating because there was a sense of joy and a sense of pride because these are, my kids. These are my boys. These are my legacies. And there was a moment during Cameron's graduation where I got tripped up. Like I was listening to Dion's graduation and watching it on my phone, and I went to Instagram. And as I go to Instagram, the first thing that I see is a post that Cameron made on Instagram, and it was some pictures of him at graduation, graduation pictures or what have you. And the song that was playing in the background was Jay-Z's Legacy. That's the name of the song, Legacy. And I just looking at the pictures and, all these things go through your head when you're a parent and you're sitting in that audience and you're, getting prepared to see your child walk across the stage, completing a task and a goal that they had set for themselves. A lot of emotions, are running through you, a lot of thoughts. I thought about both Dion and Cameron, their first days of school. And I remember those days vividly. And it's like, really seems like it was yesterday. And it really wasn't. And I'm getting text messages from, old family and friends and old teachers and stuff like that. And it's amazing. And I was watching his Instagram, and the next thing I know, like, my eyes, my eyes. I was like, man, hey, what's going on here? First, it was the right eye, and I was like, what's going on with this right eye? And then, like, it was, I did like this. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. I kind of wiped it, and then my left eye it was something going on in my left eye. I was like, man, what's going on in my left eye? So I wiped my left eye. And the next thing I know, like, they're coming. And I'm in this arena, what they call the mini dome on Southern's campus. And I'm like, just wiping. And it's not, and be clear, folks, I'm not afraid to cry. I mean, I am a human being. I'm not really an emotional type person, though. And I don't really cry a lot. And, but I think crying is good. But it was just, I can't even really put it in words like what happened at that particular time. Like between the song and seeing those pictures, it just like hit me. And so I was, very excited, very happy, obviously, and extremely proud. Still am very proud. And, the same goes for Brandon and Skylar. Brandon finishing high school and attending college next fall, and Skylar finishing middle school. And moving on to high school, which is crazy because, like, if you guys follow me on social media, there are quite a few of you who remember the day that I tweeted out and posted on Facebook, my daughter's here, Skylar's here, and I was just like beaming with, pride and joy having our one and only daughter, and so you guys have watched me as a father and watched her as a little girl grow up, and now she's about to go to high school, which is crazy. And so, like, you're like, wow, where did the time go? So I'm always saying that, like, wow, where did the time go? And so I said all that to say this: graduation, it brings out certain emotions. It brings out, a great feeling, and there's also always a level of pride. There's always a level of accomplishment. There's always a level of, hey, you did it. Let's celebrate. And I'm all for celebrating. However, I truly believe that there's a way to celebrate. And that's what this podcast is about. I think that there is a right and a wrong way to celebrate at graduation. I think I'm all for the idea and the concept of honoring and acknowledging the fact that a child, went from one stage to the next stage. I'm all for that. I think that is very important because while it might look silly that you were dressing a kid up and they're finishing preschool and they're going on to kindergarten and there's a preschool graduation, listen, I'm all for that because I think a child needs to see and be honored and celebrated when they make those type of steps. So if you're graduating from, pre-K to kindergarten, if you're graduating from kindergarten to first grade, now I don't necessarily know that there needs to be a ceremony for graduating from the first grade to the second grade, but normally there's a graduation. At least there is now. There wasn't when I was coming through school, but um, finishing elementary school, graduating to middle school, and then graduating middle school and going to high school. And then obviously going from from middle school to high school, and then high school to college, military, working field or whatever the case may be, and obviously college. And then, postgraduate, if you go to, you get your master's or your doctorate, excuse me. So, and even now, even within my family, I mentioned that, Dion graduated, Cameron, Brandon, Skylar. And then by the end of this calendar year, we'll have a fifth graduate. Not me. My wife, Sharice, will be getting her doctorate degree. So we'll have 5 celebrations, right? And hers is going to be a big one because, this is something that she's worked for and worked tirelessly for. And, so everybody in the crib has has graduated this year. Me, 12K graduated from the School of Hard Knocks. I don't know that I'll ever go and sit back in someone's classroom. I can't say that I won't, but as of right now, I mean, there's no burning desire to do that, and there's no monetary. I'm not going to make any more money by going back and getting a degree. Not in my field. So I will continue to chase the paper and do what I do. But again, it's to be celebrated. It's to be honored. It's to be a moment to be cherished. However, I think we have lost sight of that. And what I mean by that is that at some graduations, and many of you will see some, you don't have to go far. You can look online right now. Because there's been a lot of high school graduations. There's been obviously a lot of college graduations, and there's still more to come by the time that you hear this podcast. But yeah, it's gotten out of control. And what I mean by that is that, the idea and the concept of celebrating has gone too far, in my opinion. I'm not against celebrating. I'm someone who is down for a good time. I'm down to be recognized. I'm not so comfortable, and this may sound strange, but I'm not as comfortable as you might think under a spotlight. Now, there's certain things that you're going to do that's going to be highlighted in your life, and I'm perfectly fine with that. But, the spotlight is something to be shared when it's supposed to be shared, and if I have to step in the spotlight by myself, that's fine. I'm perfectly built for that. However, I know what comes with that. And I'm not really, and it's going to really sound weird for someone who has their own pretty popular podcast, is that I'm not really cool with all eyes being on me like that. I'm okay with speaking in front of a crowd. I'll speak in front of any crowd right now. Doesn't matter, right? But, it's another thing to bring attention to myself purposely. And that's what I think some of these celebrations have done. They're bringing attention to you purposely. Now, and I'll use this example for those of you who watch football, right? So, as many of you know, maybe you don't know, I played wide receiver at South Carolina State University. That was my number 12. If you're watching on YouTube, this is my helmet right here. A couple of jerseys are mounted on the wall behind me. If and when I caught a pass, it was never my idea or desire to, get up and do a little dance or do the first down move or pop and lock or whop it out or do the Dougie or any other gyration. My thing was, that's what I'm supposed to do, right? So, and I full disclosure, I didn't score any touchdowns at South Carolina State. Scored quite a few in high school at Wilson High School in Florence, South Carolina, right? So I can take it back to Wilson. When I scored a touchdown, I simply handed the ball to the referee and I went and celebrated with my teammates. It was high fives and all that kind of stuff on the sideline. I never believed in doing all of that stuff because, one, I was a huge fan of Barry Sanders, the great running back from Oklahoma State who played for the Detroit Lions. In my opinion, the greatest running back I've ever seen, right? Barry, when he was coming up, his dad would always tell him, act like you've been there. So when you score a touchdown, that's your job. Your job is to score a touchdown. So when you score a touchdown, hand the ball to the ref. There's no need for you to, dance and gyrate and everything like that. We just saw you score, bro. We don't need to see anything else. And see, here's the thing about that is that people don't want to go to the sidelines and celebrate with their teammates or sidelines and celebrate by themselves because now the focus isn't on you anymore. But when you're in the middle of that end zone and that camera's on you, you got a couple of seconds to do whatever. And don't get me wrong, I don't want anybody to think I'm the fun police. I'm not. I'm all for guys, especially now when I watch football. I'm all for guys having a good time, celebrating. I love the fact that the NFL in particular encourages teams or players to celebrate with their teammates. So some have choreographed moves, they have dances, they have little things, they have TikTok challenges. You'll see a whole bunch of stuff in an NFL game when a guy scores a touchdown. And he's celebrating with his teammates, which is what I'm all about. Celebrate with your teammates. So in that example, I'm totally fine with celebrating the right way, which in my opinion is, with other people and not bringing the attention to yourself. Because particularly in an arena like a graduation, you only have but so much time. Like there's only a certain amount of time they're going to call your name. Graduating with a master's degree in psychology, 12 Kyle. And then I walk across the stage. And that's it. Like I got that. And that time frame for them to say my name, for me to walk across the stage, shake the president's hand, take a picture. That's the time for my family to make noise or yell or whatever the case may be, if that's allowed. And that's it. I've done my job. I've scored my touchdown. Let me get off the stage and go sit down or go celebrate with my teammates, in this case, which would be my classmates. That's not what's happening in a lot of graduations. At a lot of graduations, there is a show. And I saw one firsthand when we were at Cameron's graduation at Southern University. Now, this is my first time being at Southern University for a graduation. I was telling a friend that even when I was in college and we played against Southern wasn't in our conference, but we played against them a couple of times. They were the school known for celebrating. Like, and this was, 94, 95, right? They were known for celebrating. They were known for a guy would make a tackle and he'd get up and dance. I mean, like, you made a tackle, the guy got 4 yards. What are you dancing for, right? Like, you're wasting your time. But that's what they would do because that's what they were known for. Known to celebrate. At South Carolina State, we didn't do that. I mean, like, it wasn't, I can't even say it wasn't allowed. It's just like, it was frowned upon. Like, who does that? You know what I mean? Like, it was just something silly. So, long story short, at Southern, what I did notice was there were a lot of kids celebrating. More specifically, a lot of the kids who were members of the D9 were celebrating. For those who don't know, that is short. D9 is short for Divine Nine. Those are 9 Black Greek fraternities and sororities. I would list them all, but you know who they are. If you don't know, look them up. the Divine Nine. And full disclosure, I'm not a member of the Divine Nine, so take that for what it's worth. I got no beef with the Divine Nine. I love all the fraternities and sororities. I'm cool. I got friends in just about every one of them, right? Some of my closest friends are and family members are in fraternities and sororities. My wife is a member of Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated. That being said, most of the kids that got up, when their names were called, If they were deltas, they were doing a little delta move and dancing across the stage. And if they were alphas, they were doing their thing. I mean, like it seemed like it wasn't excessive, but it was just like, why? Like, I mean, you got your chance to do it. You got your chance to shine. But guess what? If you're a delta, if you're an omega, let's just say you're a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. You're a member of Omega Psi Phi. If you get up there and you go before me, and your name gets called, and you're hopping around the stage, and you're just showing out, and you're still hopping, and they call my name, you're taking my shine. The 5 seconds I don't even get. My family can't even hear because you're jumping on stage. The crowd is going crazy. Your frat brothers are hooting and hollering and barking, and nobody hears 12 Kyle gets his name called. And so, again, the thing that I always come back to, which is the same thing that I had, we had a discussion about. There's a time and a place for everything. I used to hear that all the time as a child. There is a time and a place for everything. And while graduation celebrations just ain't the spot for it, it's just not, because it infringes upon everybody else that comes behind you. And it ain't graduation just ain't about you. You're not the only one that's graduating. So if everybody got up on the stage and celebrated the way that you did, graduation literally would last 5 hours. Can't do that. There's a time and a place for everything. There's time to celebrate. There's time to do flips and act the fool and have a good time. Let that be after graduation. Let that be when you get to your party. Let that be when you get to your house, or you get to your apartment, or you get wherever, and everybody can recognize you, and the people in that room who came to see you can rejoice and celebrate you. What I saw was very disappointing. And here's the funny thing. As we were watching graduation, Sharice leans over and she says, well, this ain't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Like, it's been worse in previous years. And I was like, oh, really? I mean, I didn't know, because I had no reason to watch or be, I had no reason to go to Southern's graduations. I'm not going to anybody's graduation I don't know. So Cameron was the first. He was the only reason for me to go to their graduation. Should he get another degree there, I'll go back to another graduation. But other than that, unless somebody else in our family goes to school there, I'm not going back to another graduation. Not that it was bad. It was a very, very good graduation. And it was ironic because, like I said, the whole time I'm sitting there, but I'm also watching Dion's graduation on my phone. And 2 different events. well, for one, Dion's graduation was for, kids getting their masters and their doctorates. So it wasn't the undergrads. Cameron's was the undergrad. So, different vibe. The kids getting their masters and their doctorates, a little bit more, mature, a little less wild. But the thing that I also saw online in these last couple of days, that was really disappointing, was seeing this celebration from high schoolers. Very disappointing, and very, like, I know I'm old, right? And yeah, so when I graduated from high school June 7th, 1991. It's been that long. And no, I went to a black high school, Wilson High School in Florence, South Carolina, and there were specific rules at our high school. They didn't even you couldn't even clap during graduation. They wanted you to hold your applause until everybody crossed the stage, and until everybody's name was called, right? And if you made any noise, if you had those air horns, or you had a mega horn or bullhorn or anything like that, they would calmly escort you up out of that place. No doubt about it. And they didn't play. They told us from the beginning, this is a very proper and solemn event, and it is to be, performed that way. And you're supposed to conduct yourselves in a certain way. And they had levels of expectation for that. And you had to abide by them, or you had to get out. Like, I've seen people at graduation get kicked out of our graduations at Wilson. I saw it a couple of times. That actually happened at my graduation because somebody's, family decided to make noise because their kid graduated. I mean, they didn't care because they just saw him walk across the stage. So getting thrown out of graduation at that point was cool for them. They didn't have to sit through the rest of the ceremony. But seeing some of these high school kids, and there's video. I mean, like, I'm not even going to. I was going to put the video on here, but I'm not going to put the video on. You can find them for yourself. Just Google. And you see the cover art. That's just one kid. I mean, just showing out. He was doing flips and all kind of other stuff. And I'm going to say something that may be controversial. I don't really care, but it's not meant to be malicious. But you get where I'm going with this. While I will say that high school graduation should be celebrated, for some of these kids to be carrying on, dancing, flipping. I saw one dude throw a bunch of ones up in the air. One girl was twerking. Listen, it's just high school. I know that may sound a little bit elitist from someone who went to college, but it's just high school, particularly now because everybody goes to high school. Listen, everybody graduates from high school. Like, you don't even have to be there and you'll graduate. You guys heard the episode with my homegirl, Rojack. Shout out to Rojack, who was on a couple episodes ago talking about the educational experience. She said that there are kids who with the No Child Left Behind thing, they're kids who go to school and miss half the year and still show up and still get a high school diploma. So, honestly, graduating from high school ain't nothing. I mean, and again, I'm not poo-pooing on the idea because you still should be celebrated. It's still a great accomplishment. And for some, that's the end of the road as far as education, and that's fine. But come on now. Let's not act like we just won the Super Bowl. And that's the thing that's really, really frustrating about watching some of those videos is that, excuse me, you have a situation where a lot of these kids really are acting as if like they won the title. And I'm here to tell you, like, life really starts at that point. It's not even funny. I mean, like, what you do after high school really depends on what level of where you're trying to go. I mean, some will go into the workforce, and that's great because one thing you'll need in this world, I don't care what your profession is that you'll need experience. Companies, jobs will ask, how long have you been doing this? What are you doing? What can you do? What can you bring to this company? Some go into business for themselves, and that's even better because there's nothing better than being an entrepreneur. And then there are others who go into the military. Salute to y'all who go serve this country. You don't have to, and it's a very thankless job. And there are quite a few of you who do it and do it well. And I salute all of you. And then the rest go off to college. And college is a place that you'll find out relatively quickly if you belong there or not. There's quite a few people that show up on the college campus and they're not there for 4 years. Some of them don't last a semester. But you quickly find out where you fit in that. But again, not to shit on high school kids, but again, it's high school, bro. You can't act like that when you haven't done anything. You're really just scratching the surface on what you're doing and where you're going to be in life. Is it time to have fun? Yes. Is it time to turn up? Yes. Is it time to be celebrated for accomplishing 12 years of school? Of course. But to act like some of these kids are acting, it's ridiculous. I mean, honestly, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, and it's embarrassing as a parent. It's embarrassing to me when I see black kids acting like this because as a black man, I don't think that's cool. I don't think that's proper. And I'm not saying that every graduation has to be, you walk straight, stiff, shake hands, and go sit down. You should have fun, and there should be a way to have fun. I'll give you an example. I mentioned the D9. Well, at South Carolina State University, our president at the commencement ceremony, he got up and spoke. And while he's a member of the D9, he is a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity. He's a also a South Carolina State University alum. He mentioned the fact that, the public, the people in that arena, didn't see anybody from the D9 hopping and stepping and shimmying and scrolling across the stage. And he said the reason that happened was because he had to negotiate. And he said this class was, some very tough negotiators. And he said basically he had to negotiate with them that they would have their time to do their thing and dance and shimmy and hop and all of this other stuff. But it would have to be at a certain time during the ceremony. They couldn't do it coming across the stage. And at that moment, he said, band, do your thing. And our band, the Marching 101, the famous Marching 101, played a little jam called Pass the Peas. Shout out to James Brown. Pass the Peas is a very famous song that gets played all the time. And when Pass the Peas gets played, the fraternities and sororities always do their thing. I'm pretty sure if you guys follow sports, you probably saw last year our football team. We were beating somebody. We were beating the brakes off of somebody. But anyway, the band goes in to Pass the Peas. The Qs, the Omega Psi Phi brothers, jump on the field, which is what they do every year, all the time. They actually get in the end zone and they start hopping. And this is usually done between, a commercial break or whatever. So it's done, and it's maybe 2, maybe 3 minutes long. It's done for them to do their thing and then get off the field. Well, last year they didn't get off the field fast enough, and we actually got a penalty. It was fine. But our head football coach, who's an Omega as well, wasn't happy about it. But he said he talked to him, and just to make sure that we didn't get any more penalties. But so the band goes into Pass the Peas, and everybody gets up. Everybody from the D9, anybody who wanted to dance, anybody who wanted to do anything, that was your chance. So you had 3 minutes to get it done. And the video is beautiful. You can see the video, it pans out, and the deltas, the AKAs, the Qs, the alphas, everybody, every fraternity, every sorority was out there dancing their ass off. Every kid who wanted to do something, you didn't have to be in a D9. If you wanted to dance, you could do it right there. And I thought that was cool because it didn't take away from the ceremony. There was a designated time for them to do this, and the fans and the people in the stands were thoroughly entertained. I would rather you designate a time, and they're on the floor, so they're not on the stage. I would rather you designate a time and a space. If you say, hey, we're going to cut the music on for 3 minutes, and during this 3 minutes, get busy. Okay, cool. Who wouldn't want to do that? I'm for that. I don't think that takes away, and that doesn't keep Mary Jane from hearing her daughter name being called because the alpha that got called in front of her was, up there dancing. And you couldn't hear your daughter's name getting called. And so I think it goes back to what I said. There's a time and a place for everything. If you carve out the time, that could be the place. I just don't know that for high school kids, or even for college kids for that matter, that some of the celebrating is warranted. Not like that. And you can call me old. I'm old. I got plenty of gray to prove it. You can call me washed. I'm washed. But one thing that I am is someone who's lived for a little bit. I haven't lived forever, but I've lived a little bit. And I know that these type of things, what you want to do is when you look back on your graduation, and I'm speaking from personal experience, when you look back on your graduation, you want to be able to put a smile on your face. You want it to be remembered for your times and those experiences, but more importantly, remember the people who helped you, because nobody gets to that graduation stage by themselves. Nobody. Yeah, you did the work. You put in the work. You put in the hours. You put in the studying, the late nights, the phone calls, the group sessions, all of that stuff. You did the work. You took those tests. But there were some people that helped you get to that point and get you a little bit further along. There were some people that paid that financial aid. There were some people that paid for those textbooks. There were some people that drove you to college or picked you up from football practice or picked you up from band practice or, went to talk to your teacher when you were about to fail, geometry. Those people deserve to see you accomplish your goal. But it can't just be for you and your family. It has to be for everybody. And I think we got to move out of that context. And what was interesting was I was talking to Cameron about it before I recorded this episode, and he said, well, he was talking about the kids from high school, because one of the videos we saw was some kids that were in Baton Rouge who, they do this little. I'm not even gonna do it on camera because I don't know what it is. Let's just call it a jig. They're doing this jig, and he was like, "Well, Dad, you don't understand the culture. The culture of these kids. They celebrate." And I was like, "Look, in the Bayou, the one thing that I do know about the people from that area, very rich in heritage, very rich in, spirit and soul, and a very determined group of people that live in that area of the country. And they celebrate birth, they celebrate death. So I get it, and any and everything in between. And I get it, and I love that spirit about us as a people from that area." He said, "Dad, you don't understand. That's part of the culture." But my explanation to him was also, we can't do ratchet stuff and make it about the culture, because that ain't our culture. Let me say that again. We can't do ratchet stuff and call it culture, because that ain't our culture. There's a right way and a wrong way to do everything. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't celebrate. By all means, you should. But in your celebration, also understand that what you're celebrating, when you're celebrating, and how you're celebrating, it matters. It should matter to you, because you know what? If it doesn't matter to you, it's going to matter to the person behind you. It's definitely going to matter to the person that's in front of you. And you don't want to spoil it for everybody just because you want to have a good time. This is one of the times where I think it's important to think about yourself, but more importantly, it's better also to think about others, because when we walk in a room, in steps the race. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. Thanks again for checking out this edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. We drop new episodes every Thursday and every Sunday at midnight. We also have a new baby. It is called the Rap Soul Podcast. It is an intersection where we talk about music, more specifically rap, R&B, soul, and hip hop from the 80s, 90s, and the 2000s. It is the best music podcast that you've never heard. So you should definitely check it out. We drop new episodes there every Monday and every Friday. So tap in. We're on YouTube as well. 12 Kyle Podcast on YouTube, the Rap Soul Podcast on YouTube as well. All across social media, 12 Kyle Podcast, the Rap Soul Podcast, all across the board. If you want to contribute financially, hit us up. $ TWELVEKYLE. We also have merch. Click the description box and it says merch. There's a link there. Click that link. You can buy 12 Kyle Podcast t-shirts, hoodies, and coffee mugs. We got them for the low. Once again, this has been another edition of the 12 Kyle Podcast. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. I'll catch you guys next time. 5,000. Cheers.
Thanks again for listening to this episode of the 12 Kyle Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and share this podcast with a friend who needs the 12 Kyle Podcast in their life. Every listen, every download, and every share helps us grow. Thanks for being a part of the 12 Kyle Podcast community. We appreciate your support. We will catch you next time. 5,000.